All right, viewers, welcome to another episode of Anything About Everything. And today we have Joe. This is an in person episode. His name is Jolveen Mendonca, and I call him Joe. So, this episode is going to be filled with a lot of insights about fitness, strength training, fat loss, and his experience, working in India and working in US as a trainer. And did you work as physical therapist as well?
No, I'm after my graduation, I'll start working as a physical
Awesome.
therapist. Yeah.
So, yeah, welcome to the show, Joe.
Thank you, Raghu. It's my pleasure being here. I know you've been recording so many podcasts now, but it's my honor to be here on your
Oh, dude.
podcast. Yeah.
Big words, big words. So, to start off on a lighter note, let's talk about your experience in India and here, and how did you get here, and your experiences coming to US. Like a lot of people, when you think about education, a lot of people, like including me, most of us come to US for mostly engineering programs or computer science programs or MBA stuff. But you took a very unique approach of coming here and studying exercise, nutrition, and science. So it's pretty niche. So can you talk more about that?
Honestly, I didn't know that. When I came here, I saw that 99% of the people that come from back home are into either, like you said, engineering or basically computer science engineering or MBA programs. And then there is the other 1% who are into like communications or fields like exercise and nutrition science. So it was like a different view. So how I got into exercise and nutrition science, or how I got into fitness. So it was, I think, when I was, I think, in 10th grade, and I had a shoulder injury. I fell off the bike, and I thought my life was almost over. When I had the accident, it was a bike skid, and I fell on my arm.
When you say bike, it's a motorcycle.
Yeah,
Alright.
it was Activa. That's
Okay,
what we
okay,
call
okay.
it back home. It was
Okay, okay.
Activa back
Uh-huh.
home, and it was raining very badly, and I just had a bad skid, and for 5 seconds I thought my life was done. And when I had that skid and I fell on my shoulder, uh, for I think 1 minute I was just lying down flat, and I was like, "Oh, I survived." And then I had shoulder pain for I think 6 to 8 months, and then I went to a physical therapist who healed my shoulder. That was when I was in 10th, 11th grade. In 11th grade, that was when I moved back to India for my 11th, 12th, and my bachelor's, and it was amazing to see how my shoulder healed. And from there on, I was always interested in. By then, I had already chosen the science stream. That was, I think, that's what we call it back home, PCMB,
PCMB, physics, maths, chemistry,
biology.
biology.
So I had an option to choose physical therapy, and I was like, why not? And I was into sports too, and I used to, I played for Bahrain under 16s and under 14s. So I always liked how the body moved, or I was always into uh, physical physical fitness. So it was like, okay, I get to do this too, and I get to help people too. So why not, let me just take this program without knowing what really it is. Okay. So that's how I got into physical therapy there. Then I was like, what, let's explore another part of it after my degree. And I saw a program at the University of Tampa that said exercise and nutrition science. And I'm like, oh, now I know the rehab part of it. Why not let me do the study more about sports science? Sports, just focus on sports and specialize in that. And then I also get nutrition as an advantage in this degree. And I just applied to one college in the US, I feel, and it was like it was meant to be. So I don't know. I just got an acceptance letter, and I was just like, I'm gonna pack my bags and I'm gonna be here.
So you said about Bahrain, right? So you were born in Bahrain or you were born in India?
No, I was born in India, and when I was four, that's I think when my brother was born around the same time. So I moved to Bahrain from India, and then I was there till my 10th grade. So I was there till I was 16, 17. And then after that, I had this habit of not staying in one place for a long time. So that's what, when it comes to me, I think I have like a little bit of identity crisis when people ask me, where do you come from? Where are you from? Now it's like, uh, I can't say I come from Bahrain because I was born and brought up in India, and I was in India for the last 6 years. And then before that, I was in Bahrain for like nearly, let's say, 13, 14 years. And then before that, I was in India. So like I know all the languages from back home, and then I know a little bit of Arabic also, and then and then now I'm here. So it becomes very difficult when people ask me, where are you from, and then I say that it becomes a long story, but it's an interesting story to tell too, that I'm
Definitely.
from India. I come from Mangalore, and then I was brought up in Bahrain, so Indian touch and the Middle Eastern touch, and now I'm here. So it's always a good story to tell.
That's awesome. So what made you choose US over any other place when you wanted to study?
I think I was just looking at all my options. So when as an international student, or when you decide to do your masters, right, you always look at the pros and cons of every country. And I think I was not very keen on doing my masters. It was my parents who were telling me that it's better if you do a masters before you start working, because if you start working and once the money comes into the hand, you ain't gonna go and do a
Go.
masters. But end of the day, it was my decision. After my degree, right after my degree, I went back home, and I was lucky enough to work in a small clinical setting called holistic health. And I was there for like I think 3 months, and I was just working for like as a part time. And then I was like, okay, this is getting a little too boring. Let's look for a master's program.
Mm.
And meanwhile, somewhere in between, I applied to the University of Tampa, that's in the USA, and I didn't know where I'm coming. I didn't know, people look at states, people look at how cold it is, how hot it is, and they look at the area and all. I just liked the program. That is a big part of it. I liked how the program was structured, and it was just 1.5 year of studying, and it offered me everything. That was one part of it. And then uh, people call it the American dream, right? People want to make it big here, and I feel uh, it's the hustle culture.
Definitely.
I think you and me both like hustling
Exactly.
too.
Yep, yep.
It's a very fast-paced life here than I think any other country, and I think you got to be at your A game here if you want to make it at the top.
Yeah, when you put in your A game like here, I don't want to compare or talk about any other countries, but at least US is where I have put in my hard work, and I see like all the time it's getting rewarded. Like, somebody recognizes you, gives you a hand to come up, and I've always seen that here. When you say you didn't even know where you're coming. So how was your experience? I want to know your experience. Like, let's do this. Let's compare your experience in India versus Bahrain and US. Let's start with Bahrain first, like the cultural differences, what you saw and stuff.
To start off with, in Bahrain, I used to go to this school called New Indian School. So I was grown up among Indians only. So it didn't feel much like you are abroad,
Uh-huh.
but yes, definitely back home there's a lot of greenery and there's a lot of wind, there's a lot of rain. Whereas Bahrain was all about deserts
Right.
and dry. Yeah, I think everybody listening to the podcast has to visit Bahrain at least once, because it's a country of what I think 296 miles.
That's it. The
That's
whole
it.
country.
Yeah, that's the whole country. It's an island. It's an
Okay.
island, by the way, and you can cover it in like 2-3 hours drive. You can cover the
End to end.
entire coast in 2-3 hours drive. That was Bahrain for me. With my dad has been there for the last 35 years.
What about the drinking culture in Bar? Are you allowed to drink in Bar? Like, is it open or what is it?
It's so when Bahrain is Islamic country, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Muslim country. For a Muslim country, Bahrain is very liberal.
Hmm.
It's very liberal. When you compare it to
Qatar.
its neighbors, yeah. When you compare it to Qatar, Saudi, I think UAE is fairly open to it, or Oman. It's very liberal. But the punishment too, if you do something, the punishment is
Harsh.
brutal too. But I think Bahrain learned business pretty early. That's what I feel. So Drinking culture is not as prominent as it is in the US. Like, whatever you do, you need a drink. No, it's
Yeah.
not that. It's not that prominent. But you have places. There's this place called Jufair, and it's called Las Vegas of the Gulf.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think it's called the Las Vegas of the Gulf, where you have all the nightclubs and you have.
Casinos.
I think you have casinos too. I don't know if gambling is legal back there, but you have the Las Vegas lifestyle just in that part of the country. Usually, people from the neighboring countries, they because Bahrain is liberal, that's their business model too. They come and party and then they go
They go
back
to
and
fair
they
party.
yeah they go to Jufair and they party and then they go back too. And I think the other thing is Bahrain is known for its oil,
Hmm.
uh, but whenever you talk about the Middle East, people talk about oil money, gas money, and stuff like that. But the hidden part of Bahrain is known for its pearl. So Bahrain
Pearl.
flag, yeah, it's known for its pearl. So if you see the Bahrain flag, it's white and then you have red on this thing. So the white part represents the pearl, and the red part represents uh, a pearl is always put on a red
Hmm.
cloth, so that is what it
Wow,
represents.
that's
That's
interesting.
interesting too. So
Fun fact.
yeah, and Bahrain is known for its burial grounds, burial mounds. So it was believed that a lot of old people used to come to Bahrain to live the last few days of their life in the country, because it was a beautiful place and it was the place where they wanted to die. So it's known for
Really?
its burial mounds too.
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
this is a little about Bahrain. It has the Arab touch to it, but a lot of South Asian people like Indian, Pakistanis, and even you have people from Nepal, Bangladesh, and stuff like that. So I grew among all of these people, and it was like you get exposure to so many things, so many good food, and so many good people and stuff like that. Yeah, so it was fun.
What about India?
So talking about India, I think I moved when I was 16, 17, right? So I used to live with my grandparents for 2 years. Uh, I think it was my 11th and 12th where I took physics, chemistry, maths, biology, science. And it was, everybody tells it is hell, and it is hell, because it's a lot to study, and there's so much pressure on you, because people think you're going to do doctor and you're going to do engineer, and there
Engineering.
is CET, and it's a lot of pressure. So those 2 years were pretty quiet. It was just me going to college and coming
And
back
study.
and studying and stuff like that. But I think my life in India picked up after those 2 years when I started my bachelor's in Manipal. Manipal
Hmm.
was again a good place. It was no different than it had a good vibe. Then a metropolitan city, the 5 kilometer radius. It was really good. You had the lifestyle you wanted, and then you had everything there too. So uh, it was obviously different from Bahrain, when
Hmm.
when the people around, and you obviously I got so I'm not very so when I came to US, right, I thought, like, people talk about culture shock, right, when you come here. I was not very culturally shocked because I moved from Bahrain to India, and I was already like culturally shocked
In
when I was
India?
17. Yeah,
Okay.
because I used to travel by a van that used to that had AC in it, and I used to go like a king. And then my first day of college in India, I'm going in a bus that's like filled with people, and there is no space to breathe. Right? So I was already culturally shocked the first day.
Yeah.
So I was like expecting it. I was like, what can get worse than that, right?
Uh-huh.
So when I came here, I was not very culturally shocked when I came here. I was already expecting. I had already seen it back then.
Yeah, for me, when I came to US, the I feel like not a cultural shock, but the different thing that happens between here and US, like the small thing is like in India with my family, like say we all are sitting for lunch or dinner on a table, right? And if the food is served, like if my plate food is served, like if the rice and curry is served, I can start eating. I don't have to wait for the eighth or ninth person in the
Mhm.
table to get the food and all of us start eating together, right? So as soon as my plate is full, I can start eating. Versus here, when I went out to restaurant with my friends for the first time, and when the entree came, my entree came first, and when I started eating, everybody looked at me like I was an alien. And then I asked my buddy, like, wait, is that not a thing here? He's like, no, you gotta wait for everyone to get the food. So these kind of minute things, like, is like, I would say, a culture shock or a culture
Yeah,
learning,
culture
right?
learning,
So
exactly.
these are the few things that I
And I
came
think like
across.
even opening the door, we
Right.
don't do that back
We
home.
don't do that back home.
But here we make sure that we make sure to look back,
Open the door.
open the door.
Yeah.
And I think the big culturally different thing is the stop sign here.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
people stop at the
People stop at the
stop
stop sign.
I think that
And
is
yeah, it's
that is
not done
something not done even
in
back
India.
home.
Yeah, yeah. It's like small learning
Yeah,
curves,
small
right?
learnings, exactly.
So you work on something interesting when it comes to sports and data, right? So can you talk more about that? You've spoken to me. Like, can you elaborate more for the viewers or the listeners?
Oh yeah. So before I came here, I didn't know that there is such a big industry for data. That was I didn't even like I just knew the basics of Excel. I didn't know that so much data exists in the
Data is the new gold. It's
yeah,
like
new oil,
new oil.
new
Yeah,
oil. That's
yeah,
what they say.
yeah.
And yeah, I've heard this word before, and then I was like, wait, I'm just missing out on something here because everybody who's on top, who's doing well, is working with something like this. So I tried, to dig in. To sports stuff, and because I'm on this sports spectrum of it, I tried to do some courses online and see a few YouTube videos and stuff like that. So recently I've been working with the women's basketball team at the University of Tampa. I think they just won all their games. They're still unbeaten in
Really?
the NCCA Division Two. So what we do is we have this catapult device. So they usually wear the device. It records like so many data points from your direction change to how fast you're running to your heart rate at every point of the game to let's say how many jumps you had in the game to what's your speed of running and how many times you're changing direction, what's your workload. So every sport has its specific workload, and it's capturing this data minute, not minute by minute, second by second.
Hmm.
It's pretty interesting. And then what we do at the university right now is we basically analyze, or we bring in this data of what's the player load and how much have they played this week, or how much have they played this month. If they exceed something like that, they're more prone to injuries or stuff like that. And then we put it on the system, and we build a Power BI dashboard for them, where we are like, this is the player report for today and stuff like that. So it was a different experience altogether. This, I think, is something that is lacking back home, and this is something I want to take. If I ever go back home, I want to take it back home and show it to the. I think as we speak, India is progressing, but I think this is something that is lacking right now back home. But by the time I think I'm back home, I think they'll
It'll be
get
there.
equipped with it. But yeah.
Do people use this in cricket? Like, when I think about it, like, I think you put something in the bat and figure
Uh-huh.
out like the strokes and everything. Like, do people do something?
No, they use it. They use it in cricket, not in the bat, but they do use it for the players. Like this World Cup, you could see on every Indian cricket player's back, there was a device. There was a device. So they measure how much you run, or they measure how much whatever your workload that day was, running between the wickets, or your fielding, or your whatever workload you have been doing, and every second by second they're measuring your heart rate. So they see, like, throughout the season, what's your heart rate like, what's your player load, what's your load like. If you're on the higher end of the spectrum, it means you're more prone to injury.
Mm.
So I'll rest you for 2 games or 3 games and then bring you back in, because I don't want you injured.
Yeah.
And then they see like how you performed this day versus this day. Where was your power output less? Where was your power output more?
Are
So it's
these
pretty interesting.
equipments, the catapult? Is it very expensive?
Yeah, it is expensive. It's like I think the one we have in our university is like it costs around $100,000.
Per cat?
No, not per category. I think the whole setup with the cloud and stuff like that. And I think they go by yearly basis and stuff like that. It's
Oh
pretty
wow,
expensive. It's pretty expensive to have it. And I think our university is the only university that uses it on student athletes right now.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So
So
do they use it only on basketball team, or have they started using it? I know our baseball team is phenomenal.
yeah, they. I'm not very sure if they use it on baseball, but right now we work with women's basketball and women's football. So
When you say football, soccer.
yeah, soccer.
Okay.
So what happens here and what happens back home is the coach is the head of the team.
Mm-hmm.
The head coach is the head of the team. Whatever he says is the word of God. So if he says yes, he says no. It's it. So and if even now it's like they are getting used to the technology. If you have a coach that comes from like when he's played in 1950s, 1960s, when he didn't have this device, he's not going to be open to use it on his
Mm.
players. So there is still a lot of in sports science field. There is still a lot of we can
The
say
learning curve.
yeah, the learning curve, and there's still a lot of age gap. That's what we call. We're trying to cover it up because with the technology and with this, like we want to. It depends on how we communicate to the coaches. How we put it up to the coaches, how it's going to be useful and why. So only then they agree on using it. So right now, I'm not very sure how many teams in our university use it, but we work with the women's soccer and women's basketball team right now.
Interesting. Like you said, like data is everything, right? For me also, like I came here, I did my MBA, general MBA, not constant. I mean, I didn't pick like a specialization or anything. But what intrigued me was again, like you said, the data and also the movie Moneyball, where they pick the players based on the data.
Yeah, on the data.
They make the optimal team with the cheapest price,
With the
right?
cheapest price, yeah.
So that intrigued me to get into data analytics. Like I'm a data analyst by profession, so that got me into it to me as well. So when I see IPL going through, and when I started my journey, that's where I wanted to be a data scientist for RCB.
RCB. Okay.
Yeah.
I think if anybody is listening, I think Raghu might be a good option because he really wants RCB to win a cup.
Yeah, we have
So
never won a
we've
cup.
never
It's
won
been
a
what,
cup.
16 years?
Yeah, it's been 16, 17 years
16
now.
years, I think. Yeah, but
Fingers crossed, but maybe RCT wins
RCT will win it for
wins
sure.
before RCB. I
RCT
don't know.
does.
I never. Doesn't matter who wins first, but at least I think
One should
one
win.
should win. Yeah.
That brings me to my next question. Let's get into more, like, I know you spoke a lot about exercise, nutrition, and science, and you've also done the certification for personal training.
Yeah.
So I'm super interested in personal training. So can you tell me, like, I have general questions about it. I know a few things about it because I've read about, but I've just made general questions, which most of the time, uh, like I've seen people asking on YouTube, just general questions. So talk to me about losing belly fat, the $1 million question. Is it difficult to lose belly fat? Is it easy, or is it like some people say you have to lose fat from everywhere that eventually goes to belly? So can you talk more about that?
So people make it sound complicated. People make it sound uh, easy. So and then people are in the middle about it.
Right.
So everybody has a different philosophy. I think every trainer is different, and everybody teaches you different, and everybody has their own way of doing things, right? According to me, and according to literature, right? So whatever we do, it has to be backed with literature. One thing we got to realize is if I give you 1 kg of rice to eat, and if I eat 1 kg of rice, our bodies are going to act differently.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Let's not give 1 kg, 1 kg. If I give you one plate of rice and
You one plate of
I
rice.
me, your body is gonna take it differently. Your body is gonna digest it differently, use it differently, and excrete it differently. Boils down to our genetics and DNA. So all of us are very like even though we're same, we're different. So if we uh, implement one training program, or I say, Raghu, run on the treadmill for 2 miles. I run on the treadmill for 2 miles. Somebody else runs. All my three clients are running on the treadmill for 2 miles. And I have a generalized program for everybody. And you're going to react different. Somebody's going to react different, and somebody else is going to react differently. So, one thing to keep in mind is that all of us are different. What works for you may not work for me. If you fast and I fast, I might see results, you might not see results. If you do strength training, I don't do strength training, you might see results, I do, some other form of training, you might see results and I might not see results. So majority of, I think, the weight loss industry is, there's no one way of it. Like you can't boil down and tell that this is the way. But one thing is for sure, if we back it by literature, calories in, calories out. How much you intake and how much you burn. This is the proven method that if this is your basal metabolic rate and you are taking this many calories and you're burning this many calories and you're in a calorie deficit, you're going to lose weight. Now, are you going to lose muscle? Are you going to lose fat? Are you going to lose water? That's a different thing. You're going to lose weight. You're going to see it on the scale. But apart from that, if you say I I have 2 months, I'm getting married, I have a movie, I have to get on a bodybuilding show and I have to do this. Anybody can put you on a program, you can lose a lot of weight in 2 months short term, but then how is it going to affect you on the long term? That's one thing. So I think whenever you have told me that you want, I have told you, like, give it time. Like, you don't want to do it so quickly because it's a long run. You don't want to get injured.
Correct.
You don't want to, what's the use? You have six packs and then you can't eat what you like. It
Yeah.
just doesn't make sense, because one of my best friend is like a bodybuilder, and during his prep, like, he used to be a bodybuilder and he was Mr. Manipal, I think 2018, 2019. But I was with him throughout the journey. We were first year students, so we used to get up in the morning, first thing go to the gym, go to class, go play cricket, and then go to the gym again. I used to just tag along with him because I used to like the lifestyle, right? But that guy had been through a lot. Like, initially, his bulking phase was different. But when he started cutting and when he started giving up sugar and then he started giving up salt, he looked in solid shape. Was he healthy? Most probably no.
No.
No, because he was not taking enough salt. He had no carbs in his body, and he looked the best he would ever look, like with his six packs and all the striations on his body. But was it healthy for him? Did it mess him up later? Yeah. He had back pain, he had shoulder pain, and he had metabolism issues. Like, he couldn't even, recognize himself the next day because he was deprived of so many good food, so much good food, that he went, and the day of the competition he went, he had so much food, and next day he was like all bloated up because all of a sudden body had to take everything. So, if, as for the viewers, right, they want to lose fat, I would say first thing is track your calories, and then track how much you exercise. Okay, and if you match the simple criteria of calories in versus calories out, if you're on a caloric deficit, I think you should see some difference on the scale. But I'd say losing belly fat, the $1 million question, you just can't lose belly fat. You will lose muscle from the rest of the body, or you will lose weight from the rest of the body, and it depends on your genetics, and which, where you lose first and where you lose last. Usually Indian genetics, we store more.
Yeah, stomach includes.
Stomach and glutes, exactly, and on the oblique sides.
Mhm.
So yeah, we need to focus on that. We need to do specific workouts for that. Do those little things, but don't be disheartened that you're not losing weight from a certain part of the body. Just be happy that you're still healthy. And if you want to look in a certain way, just make sure you're tracking all your markers, and because sometimes we get carried away uh, by just for aesthetics or just by the for the they say don't judge by book by its cover.
Cover.
So we say we are so much focused on the cover, we are spoiling the book.
Hmm.
So
Nicely said. Awesome. So basically, it's not one size fits all. It's
yeah,
like person to person.
person to person, and it's like just don't be discouraged. Like you got to make efforts to look good and be healthy, but if you're not seeing results, maybe there are so many forms of training today. You have endurance training, you have strength training, you have high intensity interval training, you have the cycling classes that go on, you have yoga, you have uh, even in like nutrition, you have the keto diet, you have intermittent fasting, you have so many diets. Like you have right now, I think there's another Pilates. Pilates is also a form of exercise. Uh, there are like so many forms of training. Recently, there's something called blood flow restriction training, where they tie a part of your body and there's no blood flow to it, and you exercise with. Like let's say your bicep, they tie it up and you do bicep curls. So
Really, talk to me more about it. What is it called?
it's called blood flow restriction training.
Okay.
So all you do is you tie a cuff on the muscle you're training, so there's no blood flow there, and then you just do it.
How does that help?
There's like a gush of blood once you release the pressure.
And what does that do?
It's like because there's more, it basically damages the muscle more. So all you need to do is obviously recover the protein, and it's shown to be more to do with building muscles and stuff like that. But again, it's not significant. Again, it's not one size fits all.
That brings me to the next question, right? So when I trained in India, I worked under a trainer, and in India, when you register for a gym, you also get a trainer.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's not personal trainer, but kind of a trainer who will be watching you and he'll tell you what to do.
Yeah. What?
But here, you just register for a gym, and if you want a personal trainer, you have to pay him like $80 an hour. So, can you tell me more of the differences, like how people train there versus here? I know you touched a little bit about the topic. Can you elaborate more, like the workout culture in India versus workout culture in US?
I think in India, right? If we ask our grandparents what is exercise, they'll say, "I went for a walk, 30 minutes."
Uh-huh.
If uh, if you say you're a borderline diabetic and you go to a doctor, this is still like it's a big thing in India. It's still big back home. They'll say go for a walk, 30 to 40 minutes. This is basic exercise prescription back home
For everyone.
for everyone. Again, it's like again I told you it's not this thing, but that is how they're taught, and for them, the word of God is whatever doctor says, right? So they don't explore because doctors themselves don't work out, right? This is what I'm not. I don't want to specifically target, but this is majority of it. It is the truth. It's a bland truth that somebody who's prescribing you 40 minutes of walk, he's only not walking for 40 minutes.
Mhm.
So, and then the only thing he knows is you walk for 40 minutes because that's not his area. Maybe he knows, but it's not his area of expertise.
Expertise.
So, like, if you have blood sugar, strength training is shown to help with your diabetes.
Really?
Yeah. So, if you have more muscles, your glycogen is stored in the muscle. So, that's in simple terms. So, you have blood less, your blood sugar is better regulated. But in India, even today, if you go to a normal doctor, just no strength training, join the gym and all. He'll say, uh, walk for 40 minutes, you should be good. And people do it. It's again not their fault because they're not educated, right?
Let me ask you, stop you here. Like,
Mhm.
is it because the people are older? Like, that also brings me to the question that I had, like, what age, what exercise should people do? But I think I'm going to mix that here. So, when you say the doctor prescribes a walking, do you think it's because of age? Like, my aunt has diabetes and she's like in her 50s, or yeah, probably late 50s. Can she do strength training
Strength training is for everybody,
any age?
any age. And strength training, it doesn't need to, like, again, it's the perspective, right? Strength training is about building muscles and things like that, right? Strength training is a simple band. You get a simple band, and you do a little bit of exercises. That is strength
Like the
training.
resistance
That is
type of
strength
thing.
training. And for somebody who's not worked out their entire life, like if I give a resistance band to your aunt,
And
and then she does a little bit of simple exercise with the resistance band, she's going to see good responses because it's going to stimulate, because she's not done it for her life.
yeah, yeah, correct.
Okay, and again, if I have to, uh, that is one part of it. I would say I would recommend, like here also you see, like when we go to the gym here, we see old people working out, right?
Oh yeah,
We see people,
old people like
we see
70s,
70s,
75s,
60s. They're
80s.
all lifting weights, and
They're all lifting weights.
they're
Correct.
doing. This is something that we lack back home.
Yep.
And I think you exercise can be anything. It can just be movement. It can be 40 minutes of walk. I'm not telling it's wrong, but then you need to see what literature says about it. You need. I think strength training helps with so many things.
Correct.
Like even a simple squat. If you see, squat is a fundamental, like it's the mother of all exercises, because you sit and you get up. It helps in every way. Even if you're falling sick tomorrow, or you have some condition and you're doing strength training, it definitely helps. And I feel everybody should do it, uh, with exploring other forms of training too. But I think, especially old people, I think back home at least they should do it. And as far as diet is concerned, back home, I feel like, what were our ancestors?
Farmers.
They were farmers, right?
Yeah.
So our diet back home, again, I can be wrong. This is my philosophy, right? We eat a lot of rice. We eat a
Correct.
lot of carbs in
Correct.
India. It's a farmer's diet.
Correct.
Okay, it's because mine and your grandfathers, or our ancestors, used to work in the farms, used to walk so much,
All day.
used to work all day, and their form of strength training was lifting,
Those
those
the
whatever,
axe
anything,
and all these
axe,
things.
yeah,
Yeah.
it could be anything, cutting trees and stuff like that. So that was their form of strength training. Even pulling water from the well is a form
Correct.
of strength training, right? So in India we have everything. We used to do everything.
And bathrooms were not inside
Yeah,
home, so you have
inside.
to
Yeah,
walk.
walk outside. And even the Indian bathroom system, it's considered as one of the healthiest. It is the healthiest system.
Yeah.
It's proven. So our diet back home is farmer's diet. It's more carb rich. Whereas now, if you're sitting for majority of your day and you're working on a laptop, you can't have the same food, right?
Mm.
So this is also something, a food for thought, is something we have to think about. Is, yes, we don't work as much as our parents, or as much as our grandparents used to, but we eat the same food.
Mm.
Whereas here, if you see, it was, uh, it was revolutionized in the West. It was earlier, and they moved quickly from carbs to, I think,
High protein.
yeah, high protein and stuff like that. I don't know their history, but our history is, our diet, or our this thing majorly focuses more on carbs. It's because our grandparents needed it, or
Mm.
they were farmers. But when we talk about us, I think we need to rethink about it. We need to include more protein in our diet too, and even fats and stuff like that. But I think, like, Indian diet is more rich in carbohydrates, and I think we should hold back
Carbs.
a little bit of carbs. Here, people are more aware. Here, health insurance, back in India, you can go to a doctor very easily. Here, people know that.
Yeah,
People
it's not so easy, and
know
it'll
that,
break
yeah,
your bank.
exactly. So
Yeah.
they try to keep themselves fit.
In India, I loved working out and I used to go to gym, but it was like so difficult convincing my parents
Mhm.
because all they said was, "Oh, you're not fat, so you don't have to go to gym."
Exactly.
Right? That's the number one thing that they said. I'm like, no, I'm going to get my muscle trained, get in shape. And she's like, my mom was like, okay, help me wash dishes and wash clothes. You'll get better.
That's exactly what, like, when I joined the gym back home, my grandparents were like, "You can just pull water from the well." No?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, why do you need gym? You can just pull like 10 times,
And you're
that is
done.
your gym for the day. So,
So
yeah, so
here, when I see most of my friends have gym or any kind of like activities as a part of their lifestyle, whether they're like whether they're overweight, underweight, or exactly fine, or they're looking like everybody. Fitness is a part of their regime, which is like, which I feel is amazing. And I don't know much about now in India, but because I've been away like almost 9 years, so I hope we
Yeah,
have changed that
we have
stigma.
changed it, and I think like education makes a lot of difference, right? So I think in schools, in colleges, there are activities, there are where now most of the schools they have all the programs, most of the colleges they have all the programs. So there's a nutrition program. It's just that the more the word gets out, the more the people know about it,
Mm-hmm.
the the better they will be. But it has to be more to do with public awareness and stuff like that. But majority of it boils down to even the trainers or the gym owners and even the doctors, I should say, that be a little bit more active, be a little bit more uh, evidence based
Mm-hmm.
practices, and then practice what whatever you preach, just
Just
practice
practice
it,
it.
because you can't be overweight, or you can't be endocrinologist and just tell somebody else
Yeah.
do it. So that's a difference. That's what I feel.
I'll come to my favorite topic, right? My favorite buzzword is AI, which I bring it up in every
Mhm.
like episode in my podcast. What do you think about future in AI in your industry? Have you ever thought about it? Like, is it gonna be good? Is it gonna be like scary? Like, have you ever given a thought about it?
Still, there are these apps that I'm a personal trainer, right?
Yeah.
So there are so many apps today,
Which
right?
says AI is based and
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Which says that this is gonna be a workout. This, you put your age, you put your all your
Age,
data,
height,
yeah,
date,
all your
like
data.
weight.
It says that this is your program for you. Do this and stuff like that. But now we are also seeing, like, even with movement screening, right? So you do something, they'll ask you to do a squat, they'll ask you to do a push up, they'll ask you to do bench press and maybe a pull up or anything. And there are few data points, it will just tell you that this is weak, this is strong, this is that, and this is that. So it will just give you a feedback of all your muscles and whatever
You
you
mean
do.
the AI will give
Yeah,
you the
yeah, it will
feedback?
give you
Okay.
a feedback. So yeah, it is. We are moving towards that. There is no doubt about it. But the question is how fast. I think like your previous guest Aditya,
Mm-hmm.
he our roommate, right? So he asked me a very interesting question, that in the future there'll be a chip which you can insert in your body
Mm-hmm.
or something like that, and then you can do whatever you want, or you'll be as smart as this thing or whatever. But my question is, to get there, how much research has to be done, because it's something that is inserting into your body.
I see one thing, like I see an ad on Instagram where people like punch something here and it's always here, and
Mhm.
it gives them real time data
Mhm.
about their glucose level, their blood sugar, and when they work out, like
Mhm.
how much of what did they burn.
Mhm.
So that is also kind of inserting into
Yeah,
the body,
yeah,
right?
yeah. That is again, it's not very scary. It's just a little bit of a needle that goes, and you get all your data
And
points
will
and
always
stuff
be
like that.
there.
Yeah, it will always be there. Now again, it can be scary too, because you don't know who's using what data of yours, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can also be true, but yeah, that's you can't deny that we're going into that direction.
So I have another question. So we did speak about this, right? For being fit, yes, strength training, everything is important. But there's also something that we spoke very keenly, and we kind of like it was like epiphany moment for
Mhm.
both of us. Consistency and then small activities on a
Mhm.
regular interval.
Mhm.
Can you shed some light on that? And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that.
So, I think consistency is important with anything in life, right? Whatever you do, if you're consistent only, you'll get good at it. That is what I believe in. Uh, let's say, even in the small things, right? If you're consistent enough, you will see results. If
Mm-hmm.
you're consistent enough in cooking, you'll be a good cook. If you're consistent enough in creating a piece of art, one day it will
It'll
hit.
hit.
It will hit. And also, like, we spoke about breaking down things. If I have to connect it with the fitness industry, like people say that they don't have time to work out. People say
Big
that
thing.
big
I don't
thing.
have time to work
I
out.
don't have time to work out, even though if it's like just 30 minutes of your day. And like right now, being a full time student and working part time and doing all this stuff, sometimes even I find it difficult
I mean,
to.
I get it. I'm not blaming anyone because, like, you might say gym is like 15 minutes away from your house. Getting ready for the gym is 15 minutes. Getting in the car and driving is another 15 minutes. And you work out there half an hour. Then you drive back another 50, there's an hour and a half
Hour
to
and a half,
gone,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I
That's
get it.
that's true. But then I think even then, like then also we'll have to take a step back and look at what can be done.
Hmm.
So even a good 15 minutes workout in the house is good. You don't need to go to the gym every day. So we can work it out in and along. But I feel if we are talking about breaking down activities, I think we've spoken about it. For somebody who doesn't have a time, like, can I borrow 1 minute of your time? Can I just do 1 minute plank every
Amazing.
hour, every hour, or
Every
let's
two
say,
hours.
yeah, every 2 hours, and you
You can
have done
definitely
like
pull out 1 minute in every
one
2 hours.
minute in every hour, or can I do like 10, 15 push-ups in like in every hour of work, or for every time I just set an alarm for 45 minutes.
It takes 30 seconds,
Yeah,
40
yeah,
seconds to
40
do.
seconds I just do push-ups and I come back and sit. So you start with like 1 minute an hour, and then you go you go to 2 minutes an hour, and then in a minute, if you do it in a day, if you do it for
Eight
like
hours.
8 hours, you have eight
Eight.
minutes of solid planks.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and even with your push-ups, at the end of the day, you have hit around, like, I think 100 push-ups if you do it 10 every hour. So even, like, for somebody who says that I'm working for 12 hours a day or whatever, yeah, sometimes it's more to do with mental stress and the things around your this thing, but we just can't neglect the physical aspect of it.
Right. Time and again, like I've been guilty of that too. Like I work like crazy. Like I work like a full-time job which takes up like almost 10 to 12 hours of the day, and I do my podcasting on weekends, and most of my editing is done on weekends. So when I think about it, it's difficult. But when we spoke about it and we started like this we started talking when I had a back pain, and I had to like do planks and strengthen my back. I'm like, it takes only like 5 minutes of plank every day, and I can do that like 1 minute interval every hour. And then you were doing push-ups in your part-time
My
job, if
part-time
I'm
job,
not wrong.
exactly.
Every 1 hour you go
Yeah, I
back,
used to go back and
do 10 push-ups, 15 push-ups, come and just sit down, right? So these kind of things, consistency and break down like these small things really, really help, right?
yeah, I think they take you a long way.
Yeah.
Like, and then if you it says what 21 days to make it a habit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
21, the magic
yeah, the
21.
magic 21. So you keep doing it, and then it becomes a habit, and then suddenly you're good at it, and then
Absolutely.
look for your next challenge. But yeah, I think consistency is something, even with our practices, right?
Yeah.
If we practice, we perform good in cricket too. The more
Correct.
consistent we are,
Yeah.
the better we perform. So yeah.
Absolutely. Vignesh is a big example.
Yeah,
Whenever he practices, his bowling is unplayable. Whenever he doesn't, like people can go after him.
yeah, and he's all over the place. But whenever he practices, he's like right on point.
Dude, whenever he practices, he's like his six balls are on point, and he at least gets a wicket every single over
Over, exactly.
when
So I
he's
think
consistent.
it makes a lot of difference. Sometimes it's like just getting up and doing it is the hard part.
Yeah.
Once you've got up and you're there, once you show up, it's
Half
half of
of
the game.
the half of the game,
Half of the
correct.
game. You showing up is half of the game, and
Yeah.
then it's
Yeah,
just.
yeah. I think those are the questions that I had about mostly fitness and exercise and stuff. Um, One more question that I'm thinking of is there any food that after a certain age that you have to definitely avoid? Is there anything, or you can splurge a little of everything in a limited quantity in every age? Do you have any insights on that?
No, I think it should be good. The thing with eating, let me touch the part of drinking too, is that if you do it in moderation, if you are healthy, right, you don't have any kidney problems, you don't have any thyroid problems, you don't have any uh,
Liver,
liver,
lungs,
lungs, or anything like that. Anything in moderation should be good.
and any kind of food.
Any kind of food or anything. But if you have some kind of, like they say, if you have kidney disease, don't go for something that has stuff like beans or
High in protein.
high in protein too. So it depends on what condition you have and where you are at. But I would say here there is the superfood avocado. Avocado
Mm-hmm.
is very rich in nutrients. I would say, like, make a habit of having that once a day.
Okay.
Avocado, one avocado a day or whatever. Because it is called a superfood, and if you research on it, it is healthy. Back home we have papaya.
Papaya.
Papaya is also called artificial liver. So when it says to avoiding food, I'm not a big fan because I myself don't practice it. My philosophy is I will eat what I want, but at the end of the day, I'll go and burn it.
Mm.
Like, I will expel my whatever I've eaten, or I will go and do more cardio. If I have more sweets, I will do more cardio, or I'll play an extra game or stuff like that. Because I'm always, I feel after you become an international student, you have to cook your own food. You're always in a calorie deficit. You're always hungry.
Yeah.
So that is one thing I've realized. So for me, it doesn't matter right now. But if you ask me, like, as we age, uh, yeah, our body tends to respond. Our metabolism becomes a little slower and stuff like that. But I think everything in moderation
Moderation.
is good. Even drinks, like, if you say somebody don't drink anything at all, it's unless you have a liver problem or something like that. I don't think it is a good way to go about it. It's like,
It's your
it's
choice.
your
Drink,
choice.
but in
Have
moderation
like two drinks
and stuff.
or three drinks in a week, or in the whole span. It's like, don't become alcoholic.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so it just works like that. Even with the food, if you like something, go have it, but don't have it every day. Just once a week, keep your cheat day, go have it, and then you get back to your
Normal
basic
routine.
stuff.
Awesome. So you also intrigued me when you were talking about stock market, right? I'm huge into stock market. I do options and stuff. So tell me more about your stock market. Why your thought process intrigued me is like you just trade one specific stock and you go deep into it and you analyze the shit out of it. Like that's your strategy, right?
Yeah.
Like what got you to that, and like can you talk to me more about your strategy?
After our cricket, we used to drink a drink called Tata Gluco. Tata Gluco Plus. It used to be in orange flavor and a lemon flavor. And I used to like the lemon flavor. So we used to drink, and I think I turned the. I don't know. One day I was just reading the label or something. I have a big thing for reading label. How much, what are the
What
ingredients
is
are, and it said Tata Global Beverages. So that was just in the back of the mind. So when somebody asked me to, so somebody in India, they call you and they help you open an account and they show you and stuff like that. I just bought, I think it was trading at 214 or something like that, 214 rupees. I just bought like two stocks of Tata Global Beverages because I just like the drink.
it?
That was back in 2018, I think, 2018, 2019. And then over the years now, I think it's gone up till like 1,900 or 1,000. But ever since then, it has just been going up.
Mhm.
And then I realized it only later. I realized what the stock market is, and then I studied about it very deeply during COVID. If you have an instrument that if you know an instrument how it moves. Right now, I'm focusing on Dow Jones. So if you know that if you're just watching Dow Jones for the rest of your life, you will know how exactly it moves, where the
You'll
big
figure out
people
a pattern.
a pattern, where a big people are putting money and where they're pulling out money. So, and in stock market, it's like nothing stays the same. It either goes up or it goes down. So, you basically, you build up your own strategy and stuff like that. But if you have one setup and you know one stock what it's doing exactly, I think it's the way to go. It takes time, but I think it's definitely worth giving a shot.
Awesome. So you remind me when you told your story about the beverage that you drink and you put your money. Like I read this book, One Up on Wall Street by Peter. I forgot his last name. So in the book, One Up on Wall Street, it clearly mentions don't go on looking for stocks anywhere. Look at what you buy every day and which have been buying for years, and what your peers have been buying for years. Like for example, Costco, Walmart, right? Costco, Walmart, Gas, Chevron. Like these are the things like T-Mobile. So you just go put your money in this, and it'll definitely work out.
That's true. Like here's the thing though about stock market. It's obviously the risk is too high, but again the reward is unlimited too. So
Right.
it just depends. Like back home, I think it's called ITC. ITC has a
ITC.
lot of products. Even Tata has a lot of products. All these groups are pretty solid. Reliance, you use Geo. Everybody has a Geo and Airtel. Yeah. So back home also is the same philosophy. Whatever you use or whatever you have, that's my. I
It's
completely
the,
agree on it because if you have, we're recording it on a Mac. We
just
have
invest
we
in
have like
Apple.
iPhone, so
Yeah.
it's working and you see everywhere it is.
Everybody is using
Everybody
it.
is using it, so that's the market. So yeah, but we need to know where to invest and where not to invest. So
Yeah.
we just need to
True.
be careful with that. But yeah, definitely agree on that.
Awesome. Do you have any last words for our viewers?
No, it was a pleasure being here and recording it. Maybe I'll be back soon.
Yeah, we'll
It
do more
really
episodes.
it really felt good. We can dive
Certain
deep into
aspects of
certain
it.
aspects of it. But yeah, it was good. Like I always say I'm blessed to have somebody like you in my life
Oh, dude, big words.
because it was like the way we met and the interest we share and all the
Yeah.
philosophies we share. Something I think we have so many things in common now. But yeah, like it's been a good talk. I didn't expect to talk. Like I've never spoken so much so freely, and I've never spoken. I think I've spoken to a camera before, but not very freely. I always have the habit
Yeah.
of stuttering or stuff like that. But it was pretty
You did
fluid
great.
today.
You
Yeah.
did great. Thanks for coming over. It was fun, and thanks for your kind words. Like
No
I
problem.
definitely learned a lot, and viewers, thanks for sticking around with us. We have got a lot in this episode about exercise, nutrition, how to lose fat, what to do, what not to do, the differences in fitness culture here and in India. It was a fun little journey for an hour. Thanks for sticking around, and see you in the next episode.